What's up, sports world, man? You got one take Zay up in the building. We talking sports Sunday, man. Happy Easter, going out to everybody and their families. Y'all know we in the midst of March Madness right now. We had some monster action last night. We got the women's championship game taking place today. um, Shout out to everybody in the crew. We got Level Up Sports 10 with Mossberg. We got Rob with WTP for life. We got post game of the post game podcast. We got T1 of City League TV, Parlay Poe of Blitzburg. And I'm One Take Zaya. Like I said, you can find me at the One Take Zaya podcast. Man, last night, man, we get right into it. We had UConn. They move on to the championship game after defeating Illinois, man. This game was really pretty much simple. It just came down to one team made shots and another one didn't. Terrence Big Hoss Reed played like a grown man last night. Illinois only had 3 assists as a team, and really that just was a product of them not making shots for real. I felt like coming into that game, the team that was going to win was going to be the team that made shots and whose stars played better. So we seen Silas Jr. out there with a near triple-double. He had a college triple-double from the guard spot, 7 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. I thought he was a key player in the game as well, even though he didn't shoot particularly good statistically from the field. But this UConn team, man, is serious. They real, They real. Anytime you go to the national championship, 3 out of 4 years, 3 out of 4 or Final Four, 3 out of 4 years, you're going to have your hands full with a squad like that. They just play tough and they steady. I did not think they was going to make it to this point, though, after seeing them get bombed on by St. John's twice this year. But, hey, Danny Hurley is probably the best coach in college basketball for me. Throughout that whole game, I thought it was a lot of one-on-one ball going on for Illinois. I think UConn kind of took them out of what they typically try to do on the offense end. And it's just like it was like something was just on the rim. They just could not get shots to drop. I thought Keaton Wagler did everything he could in his power to try to keep his team in the game. But like I said, that boy Reed Jr. is just a grown man. That's all that is. He's just a grown man. So UConn will advance, and they will take on the Michigan Wolverines, who absolutely handled Arizona yesterday. Even without Lindenborg for most of that game, it was just like Arizona had no answer. So we're gonna have a UConn versus Michigan national championship. I think this game is gonna be fabulous too. But as far as Arizona, man, we ain't seen Arizona look like that all year. Even in some of their losses that they had this year, we haven't seen Arizona play like that all year. It was just like they didn't have no answer for nothing that Michigan was throwing at them. I'm talking about McKinney. McKinney was on the heater yesterday. Mara playing grown man, big boy basketball. And then the point guard Cadeau, him just playmaking and he didn't even shoot well from the field yesterday, but he controlled that game offensively for them. He got them into the right sets. He was pushing the rock when he needed to push. So, that Michigan team is a well-oiled machine and definitely looked like the best team in the country. Michigan been popping people all year long. Let's welcome up one of the brothers, Mossberg, the Level Up Sports 10. How you doing this morning?
Feeling pretty good, man. Happy Easter to everyone out there. It's good to see you as well this morning. Fandos, I apologize for the late entry. Man, just moving around, man. Thankful and blessed, man. Definitely one thing for sure. and just ready to get into the great show that you have for us this morning and doing what we do best for sure.
Yeah, hey, I was speaking on the Michigan game. I had already touched bases on the UConn. You could go ahead and start there. UConn, they moved on to the championship game after beating Illinois. What was your takeaways from that game?
You know, the takeaways for me is seeing this young freshman I really haven't talked about much. We talk about a lot of freshmen throughout the seasons. He hit a game winner to send UConn to that Final Four game, performed well in that Final Four game to push UConn to the championship game. Also, I think with this UConn team, they're a well-oiled machine, as a lot of people would say, and they play team ball. And on the other end for Michigan, seeing Lindenborg go down, but another freshman, McKinney, one I spoke on earlier in the season, trying to figure out, when he would find himself. And for the last month and a half, McKinney has been playing some of the best basketball as we've seen in a freshman high rated coming in for Michigan as well. So I definitely compliment both of the teams and both of the coaches as well on a great job propelling themselves and playing together to be in this championship game as well.
Yeah, man. I spoke on Trey McKinney, man. He was on a heater yesterday. And he's been, like you said, he's been on a heater for like the last month or so, month and a half or so. He's been playing really well. So for Lindenborg to go down and really not be no drop off at that position was huge.
Yes, sir. I totally agree with you on that one, man.
Yeah, you got anything else you want to add to the Michigan over Arizona game?
I would say we talk about. I know I'm gonna mix in a little with the women's way. We talked about the women's and defeating UConn. We seen how South Carolina. I think Michigan displayed that same talk we thought in defeating Arizona. Even though Michigan is a great team, shout out to Parlay Poe, Big Ronnie Hughes, my mom, Dukes, all the Michigan fans we got, man. I know they amped. I know they ready for Monday night. It just shows how great of a team they are. To see Lindenborg go down, and people forget he's come from a mid-major. He's hit the transfer portal and came to Ann Arbor. I think this is, if you look at it, FanDuel, the best transfer portal move that we've seen since this portal opened up. I don't know. That's just my opinion and my thoughts. And I'm looking at it on both sides of the sport, but definitely basketball. Yaxel to Michigan has been the biggest thing. We was in the chat talking about his Del Solo shoes. I mean, this kid is amazing. We know the story, but I think it's just bigger than basketball. And to see a player like him go down, but come in that second half late in the game, I think coach was just making sure he was still himself. We seen what he did, and that just goes to show that team. Man, we gonna be talking about this. If this Michigan team wins this national title, they definitely can go into some talks. Not to forget about Cadeau, the North Carolina transfer, point guard who made that transfer, and we see has paid big dividends. He's in the championship game. North Carolina got bounced in the first round. They're not even being called a blue blood anymore. So hats off to this Michigan organization, coaching staff, the whole nine, as well as UConn. Hurley's building a dynasty. He's looking to get a third in 4 years. Nobody's really talking about that. So we got to respect this UConn team. Caravan, Yaxel, Mara, I forget the other big. There you got Mullins, McKinney. I mean, there's so much mixed in. Johnson, Morez. That's my guy, 21. And man, he's special.
Roddy Gale, man, they got like 7 or 8 starters, college caliber starters on their roster. That's a deep team for real. Yeah. Man, let me ask you this, man. We haven't seen Arizona in a funk or play like that all year. Do you think that Arizona had a bad game, or was that due to what Michigan was out there throwing at them and just their squad itself and how they play?
I That's a great question. One take. That's a great question because for me, I was actually trying to figure this out throughout the game from the tip jump ball until even the end of the game. Even thinking about this still right now this morning, like I think Michigan is just that great of a team. I honestly have to say I haven't seen Michigan basketball like this. You think of the Trey Burke teams, like we mentioned in Tim Hardaway. You think of the Fab Five. You think of that championship team with Glenn Rice and those guys. You got to put this Michigan team right now in top five all time. But if they win this championship, they could argue about being one of those teams because you don't just go through a college basketball season with the transfer portal being the way it is, with money involved, and you still only lose 3 games, and you go get a player no one even knew who he was until he signed until he played in a tournament last year, but really blew up with Michigan this year. Like it's a lot of things you could say about this when it comes to this Michigan team being that good. And I think Arizona just wasn't ready. Michigan have something brewing in Ann Arbor on this basketball side. And I don't know, man. I've been looking at them, and when you return to Mara and McKinney after this year's team, that's going to be something special.
Nah, facts. That's definitely a hell of a team, man. Hey, we got a typo right here. Uh, that's supposed to be UConn, but who you got? But first of all, before we pick a winner, let me ask you, what do you think the key to the game is for both teams uh, in this final that we're going to see on what is it Monday? On Monday
Monday
between
night.
UConn and Michigan. What are the keys for you to in that game
I
for
think
both sides?
stars going to be stars. Stars got to be stars. That's one thing for sure. Shooters got to shoot. But I think it's going to be coming. I think it comes down. I know we talk about guard play, big man. I think in this game, it's going to come down to guard play because we see how McKinney and Mullins is playing. We see how we know the bigs going to play their part. But I think it's all the other little things, turnovers, rebounds, who can maintain that lead for an extended time. And if someone's trying to make that run, who could counter with the run or push back against the run? So I think rebounding, I think it's just going to come down to defensive rebounding and turnovers. Whoever win the turnover battle, whoever win the defense and free throws. Defensive foul shots win championships. Offense sell tickets. Michigan put on a clinic last night on the defensive end, and I think that can prepare them to a championship.
Yeah. See, I like everything you said, but for me, I think the key to this game is going to be them supporting cast again. Like if McKinney, Marez Johnson,
Yeah.
what's the other boy's name that they bring off the bench? I can't think of his name.
Barnett,
But what's his name?
the Barnett that's been starting a little bit lately.
No, Roddy Gale. That's what I was
Roddy
thinking
Gale.
about. Roddy Gale. If those three can show up and give them solid minutes, if we know Murray Johnson, he's a starter, but he's not what we would call the star of the team. We get that to Elliot Padu, Mara, and Lindenborg. We definitely got to see if Lindenborg how healthy he's gonna be in that game with that bum ankle he on. He's gonna be playing on one flat tire probably. Um, but he already said, I'm playing. He said he already came out and said, I'm playing. They might have to shoot his ankle up with that stuff. But I want to see who's supporting cast plays well because I really got faith in both teams, like star players like Reed Jr. I don't think he plays the type of style where you're going to get a bad game out of him. He's probably going to be somewhere from like 7-4-11 from the field with his 18 points, his 10 rebounds. You know what I mean? He's typically just solid like that. But the boy Silas Jr., like I was speaking about when I spoke about the UConn, I mean, you talk about a dude that did everything on the court for a UConn team. 7 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Stuff in them stat sheets that all plays into the finals. For me, the final result of a game when you got guys out there that's getting scrappy. 9 rebounds from the guard position is crazy work. That
Yes.
mean you helping out. It's a lot of long shots when you got a team taking a lot of threes. So you sticking your head in there and helping out the bigs rebound. That's the type of stuff that wins games. So I'm looking at these supporting cast like, are we gonna get Mullins to show up and knock down 3 or 4 tray balls? I want to see that. Are we gonna get a solid game from Solo Ball? Or is he gonna knock down some shots? Is he gonna take care of the ball? Is he gonna get them into their sets that they need? So I'm looking at these supporting cast, man. Like I got faith in Reed Jr. I got faith in Mara. I need to see what these supporting cast. I even got faith in Braylon Mullins to show up and hit them 3 or 4 threes. But Alex Caravan had a bad game. We can't have another one from him. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just need these guys to show up. But the supporting cast to me is what's going to tip the iceberg over the top for me.
I like that. I like the fact that you mentioned the names of Reed, Solo Ball, and the fact that Caravan had an off game. Seeing those players, like you said, which propelled them, that supporting cast. And I think Reed has opened up his NBA portfolio in this NBA tournament, the way he's dominated down low. And I refer to us talking on guards and bigs a lot because we do, but I think he's definitely made his presence felt. And like you said, Caravan can't have a bad game. If he have the half of game he had against Illinois, Michigan mess around and do the same thing like they did to Arizona. That's how dangerous this Michigan team is. If they could take Caravan out the game, and we know what the bigs are down low, Johnson and Marr, they mess around and run away with an easy national title. So, I think it's a great thing watching both of these teams because they have great young talent, and we're gonna see it in years to come. And who knows, possible another matchup down the road, somewhere in a tournament or something in a holiday tournament. But it's just great basketball that we've been able to see this year from both teams as well. I'm loving it, and I'm not talking about Mickey D's. And I seen you drinking your coffee this morning, one take, and it's
I was drinking my coffee this morning for sure.
Yes, sir.
Hey, listen, you got anything else to add to the men's side of the spectrum before we switch over to this women's side?
I'm really just looking forward to this transfer portal popping off. What my guy AJ DeBest is going to do, if he's going to declare or stay. I'm really looking forward to that. That's one of the biggest things, that I'm looking forward to because I would love to see him play with the incoming superstar coming to BYU.
Hey, before we talk about the championship game, man, I low-key want to go back and review the 2 Final Four matchups we had between South Carolina and the UConn Huskies. South Carolina pulled off that upset, did the improbable, what many people thought they couldn't do by upsetting an undefeated UConn team. Man, what a hell of a game, though, if you watched it. Did you catch that game?
When I say I was grooving, man, so crazy, Zay. I wasn't even able to watch it. I just looked at the highlights. Like, I watched the highlight game. It was like they had multiple, different tenures of it. I watched one for like 10 minutes, 17, 25. Man, Staley is built different. I really had to go look at this portfolio. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I really had to go look at her whole 2008 to present, her real life dominance in college basketball, bringing North Carolina from a team no one thought about, middle of the road, like you just walking down the street with nobody on it, one take. And then a couple years later, guess what? You're not walking up this road by yourself. You got your squad, you got the city, you got everybody behind you, and she's won the coach of the year 3 years in a row. At one point, just missed a year last year and this year, but 3 years in a row, bringing a team to where they are. Seeing Raven Johnson perform the way she did, this team is dangerous, and that's the one thing I did mention. And I think they played the type of game to get them to this point. I only think we've seen just a smidget because I think there's more left in that tank based on what I seen at the end of that UConn South Carolina game.
Yeah, man. South Carolina took it right to them.
Yeah.
It was just like we just gonna be tougher than y'all. We're gonna play more physical than y'all. I feel like by the time UConn caught the vibe of the intensity that South Carolina was playing, it was already established into the game. Like we gonna be the more grittier team, bro. And I think that's how they got it done for real. Because really, in that third quarter, the beginning of that third quarter, UConn turned it up. They really started trying to turn it up. But once South Carolina took that punch, that jab that UConn was throwing at them, and they adjusted just to the intensity that they turned up. They settled back down and they got back to regular programming. And when I tell you they killed UConn on the boards, they killed them. And that's just toughness. Rebounding is a lot to do with toughness, and I just think they were just a tougher basketball team.
Yeah.
What did you think about that interaction between Dawn Staley and Gino Auriemma?
It's funny because I've watched it numerous times. Me being a basketball player myself, I don't play much anymore, but it's just, I would say, the passing of the torch. Gino, we know you might hold a winning record over Dawn Staley, but lately she has the edge in the last 8, 6-2. I think the passing of the torch, we're seeing it, watching it, and whatever was said about whatever she do with Annex before the game, it's basketball, man. People gonna do what they do, respect it, and they got the win, man. Just bad sportsmanship on Gino, I would say. Outside of that,
Let's welcome in SEC Sean. How you doing on this? Happy Easter, Sean.
Happy Easter, fellas.
happy Easter, happy Easter.
Moving around a little bit. Just been kind of a busy weekend since getting back. Figured need to jump on and see what's going on with the fellas this morning.
It's good to see you in here, man.
Hey, we were talking about that interaction between Gino Auriemma and Dawn Staley. What, you got any thoughts on that?
And I don't know. Gino came out and said he was mad because she didn't shake his hand pregame. Come on, bro. She walked down, shook everybody else's hand. I guess. But to hold a grudge over a pregame handshake with a coach, I just don't get it. I'm sure frustration from the game. It was probably a little culmination of everything. I know he went off on a rant at mid-game about the refs, and it was just like the perfect storm for Gino. Everything just kind of piled up, and he just let it out on Dawn at the end. I don't know. It's a bad look. It is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. It did kind of take away from the domination of South Carolina put on UConn, which I heard you mention a minute ago. Nobody saw that coming. Everybody.
Yeah,
I think everybody penciled UConn all the way through their little bracket, all the way to the end.
Not I.
Zay had South Carolina.
No, I had UCLA.
UCLA.
Oh, that's right, UCLA. I had Texas.
Yeah. So, the way they beat them, though, was just impressive. And then jumping over real quick to the UCLA-Texas game, Booker had the worst game she's had probably in her whole basketball career. 3 of 23 from the field. UCLA avenged their loss earlier in the season. So
yeah, we're gonna get to that, Sean. We're gonna get to that. Hold on, though. Hold on. Before we get to that Texas game and UCLA game, let's finish off this Don Staley, South Carolina. Man, listen, Don Staley shook his hand before the game. I seen the video. So that was just Gino being a sore loser, in my opinion. And it reminds me of You Got Served, the early scene when they lost to the Crew. And it's like, y'all been whooping tail for how long? And y'all mad now that y'all got y'all tail whooped, you know? And that's just that's the hot kid on the block taking an L, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's a bad look, man. You one of the best coaches, forget now, all time. You can't be moving like that, man. He got to fix that.
It was a lot of, not to cut you off, Zay, my bad. It was a lot that's went on social media about this. Like, you seeing people that's played ball respectively on every level, you know, talking about this. This is something for me, like, I'm really going to look into next year. I'm looking now at, you know, transfer portal, all of this stuff that's coming up and that's approaching. You know, with Staley saying she's not going to address anything till after the tournament. I'm ready for the popcorn that I'm going to be having, because it's only the beginning, and I think something that's still going to brew. You know, I think both of them going to continue to coach, of course, but I think it's going to spill even into next season with where SC is at. And like I said, Don Staley basically holds the upper hand right now, even though Gina overall 13-9. In the last 8, Don Staley has won 6. You basically run Gino right now. No one has done that in college basketball outside of the late great rest in peace to Pat Summitt. We know how she is to basketball on the college women's side. So that's just my thoughts on that alone.
Yeah. Y'all got anything else to add to that game before we switch over? All right, hey, go ahead, SEC Sean. Go ahead, talk about that Texas UCLA game.
Yeah, that was my bad for jumping ahead. I thought y'all had already started talking about that one before I joined in, but again, you know, Booker 3 of 23 from the field, gets in foul trouble with 4 fouls. You know, UCLA did lose to Texas earlier in the year. If I'm not mistaken, it was a close game. I'd have to go back and look up the score, but I think it was a pretty close game. And it just goes, I mean, to me, it shows you that you can't take earlier season results like November all the way into March. Teams progress, teams get better. Texas just, to be honest, Texas just ran into a buzzsaw that's playing right now, which is UCLA. They've won, how many games in a row have they won now?
I mean, they played Texas like game 7, so they're on like down there probably 28 games in a row right now.
28 to 30, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's crazy. That's pretty much an undefeated season when you think about it. So, you know, to me, I don't know. I think it was just the storm that UCLA came out and jumped on them. I think Texas was like, we hadn't been in this position before, and started pressing. And I think Booker just started shooting, and every time thinking, I have to do something to get us into this game. And it just wasn't falling for her. And then you factor in, you know, the foul trouble with 4 fouls in the game. That, you know, that adds to it. You have to come off the field, and y'all know, if you're a player and you're playing and you're not in a good rhythm, and then you get foul trouble and you have to sit down, it takes you even more out of your rhythm. And I think that's kind of what affected them. So hats off to UCLA. Probably in for a pretty good final tonight. I hate to say it. I really, really hate to say what I'm fixing to say if y'all look at my name. But it looks like we might have a Big Ten sweep in basketball. Luckily, we're in the real. Luckily, what scares me even more is we might have a Big Ten sweep in all the major sports with baseball too, because UCLA's baseball team looks really good.
Yes, sir, they do.
That's just kind of where I'm at. But yeah, we're gonna see how it plays out. I'm gonna pull for South Carolina because again, look at my name and you'll realize why. But I don't know that they can. It's gonna be a game right there. So
It was, I think, for me with this game. UCLA 30-game win streak coming in. That's tough. Like you said, coming back. Beating the team. November doesn't mean anything. It's March. They haven't just won 30 games without no game plan on what they're going to do. They've been waiting for this game. And for me being a Matty Booker fan, I was blown away. If you would have asked me even to bet some money, FanDuel, I'm not a bettor. I would have sent you the money and put that money up on Matty Booker getting them buckets in the Final Four. So for me, it was tough watching it, knowing how great of a player she is, but that goes to show how great of a team UCLA is. They have the coach of the year. We can't forget that. She's not just over there talking to that team. She's coaching that team. And she's been on a mission, I'm going to say, since last year. This is the first berth for UCLA in the national title on the women's side. Betts out there looking like a Bill Walton or a Lou Wow Cinder. We know what those days were like for UCLA on the men's side. So I think it's time. Kiki Rice, Young Betts, the sister, and a supporting cast. Sixth Player of the Year, and Angela. She's special. Alongside Gabriella. She played phenomenal in that game. So it just goes to show this UCLA team they have something to prove. I think both teams that we're seeing in this women's side of the national championship came in with a monkey on their back, something, from last season, feeling like they should have been there, and they're here now. So I think we're going to see a great game. It's tough, to pick this. It's like a pick 'em for me, but I'm going Dawn Staley. I know what she's about, the way Raven Johnson plays, and I'm a Joyce Edwards fan. I think Joyce Edwards comes out and she gets a good double-double, 20 and 10 in the championship game and propels South Carolina to another championship in the Dawn Staley era.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Corey Close, UCLA's head coach, and Gabriella Jaquez. I think they were clearly the front runners of this game. I know we speak about Lauren Betts, but I think the game plan was very simple for UCLA, and you noticed it. It was, we're not going to let Madison Booker beat us. There was times where Texas done swung the ball a few times, and you got a defender stuck in the middle of in an island, and you have to choose who are you going to run out and guard. And a lot of those times you seen the person run to Madison Booker, and they didn't even just care about the other person, and that's just not letting her get no good looks at all. And that's how it was the whole game. And when we talk about Gabriella Jaquez, she was all over Madison Booker that whole game. And even when Madison Booker was able to maybe get a pick or get some type of form of separation, she ran into Lauren Betts almost every time. And that's just a great defensive plan. I felt like, if you go, especially with a player like Madison Booker, if you're going to go down, you don't want to go down by letting her beat you. You know what I'm saying? So I thought the game plan was real great. And I got to give all shout out to Corey Close for setting up that game plan. She was like, listen, we know we playing a good team, and we know Madison Booker is probably one of the best players in the country, arguably. We are not going to let this girl get no clean looks. And I don't think she got one clean look all game. Not one. And we know that mid-range that she got is money. It's money. So it wasn't like she was taking shots that she normally don't hit. But when you ain't getting no clean looks and it's just not your day and shots ain't falling, it's just tough, But we done seen Madison Booker hit those same shots that she was missing. So it's like, you make it as tough as you can. You don't let her get no clean looks, and you got to live with the results. And I think that's what they did. And I think the just the game plan was just outstanding, man. And shout out to Corey Close, like I said, man, because I mean, I don't know how I would guard Madison Booker, but I think we just found out that's the only way you gotta guard her.
Yeah.
And I ain't seen her play that bad, Sean. Like, this is the worst game she ever played. Absolutely, I wouldn't even say she played bad. I hate when they say basketball players played bad too. When they have a night like that, she played bad offensively. She gave it all she had on defense
Yeah.
though. I don't like to judge having a bad game based off of your statistical performance when you shooting from the field, but man, that UCLA team, and I'm telling y'all, I've been telling y'all about them for a couple months, man. I like their chances, bro. And it's definitely going to be a hell of a game with this SC team because they are physical, they tough, they experience, and they ain't going back down. They going to come at you. So we're going to see what happened, man, today at 3:30, man. I can't wait for this game, honestly.
I'm ready to
And that
call off.
just right into it. What are y'all keys for this game? WTP for life in the chat. He said, "Yeah, she was off. Hats off to UCLA. Great D, man, for sure though." But that lead us into to tonight. What are the keys for UCLA and South Carolina for each one of these programs to be victorious?
Let me before we jump on that, if somebody can look this up, this is something that I just realized looking at something. I think Madison Booker had 6 points at halftime. She finished with 6 points. You gonna tell me that just tells you the level of defense UCLA threw at her if they held her scoreless in the second half?
She didn't have
not one free throw.
She only had 2 points.
At half. Okay, so she scored 4 in the second half.
Like Madison, that's she. I as great of a talent as she is, like you say, Zay, this UCLA team, the defense was crazy. I don't know, I watched UCLA last year, but seeing the highlights and watching that 3 different times and seeing the defense they played on Madison Booker and still be able to close out on the shooters and the way Texas been shooting throughout the tournament. They've been shooting above levels, all over 3-point, even mid, just field goals itself. So that just goes to show how great defense is. And statistically, this is probably the closest national championship when you match up stats. They're first in the Big, first in the SEC, respectively. And down the list in the categories, it's literally neck to neck in averages in what possibly could be an overtime. Who knows, man? I think we're in for a thriller at 3:30. I'm ready to call off work until about 6 o'clock and go in for a half a day just so I can watch the women's game, man. It's really going to be that exciting and a must-see for sure.
Hey, listen, as a whole, I don't think I've seen 2 tougher defensive games in the Final Four than these 2. As a whole, like both games were defensive games. They were both physical.
Yeah, I saw it pop up at the UConn South Carolina game popped up and it said this was the lowest scoring half for either team. And then I turned around and I saw it pop up with the Texas and UCLA game. And it said this is the lowest scoring half for each team. And I went, man, defense is locked in this women's game. They're just shutting people down. So I was pretty impressed with it. My key to this game is going to be, how is the game called? And I hate to put it on the refs, but to me, if they're allowed to play physical, it favors South Carolina. If it's a real quick whistle on any kind of ticky-tack foul, I think that favors UCLA. And I don't want to put it on the refs, but that's just kind of the way most games are going to come down to. How is it officiated? I'm going to lean South Carolina. It's hard to go against a team on like a 30-game win streak. I'm going to lean South Carolina due to one thing, and that's Dawn Staley. her experience in these games and how to get her players ready to go, I think is different. UCLA is a great team this year, but they lack the experience of being on that big stage right now. And most of these South Carolina players have been on this stage at least once. So, and Dawn's been there numerous times. So I'm going to lean Dawn Staley to get this. I do think you're in for a really tight game. But I'm gonna lean on the more experienced coach in this game.
Man, this is a good one. For me, I think it's gonna be guards versus bigs. I like Raven Johnson. I love the way Joyce Edwards. That's one of my new faves over at South Carolina, Joyce Edwards. I think it comes down to who really plays better. You got Gabriella, I feel, versus Joyce Edwards. That's going to be the matchup to see. You got Okep versus, Betts, and then you got Rice versus Johnson. Like those three matchups, I think who wins their matchup. Also, who wins the rebounding edge. And when you win that matchup, you plan defense. Like if you think about the UCLA, Kiki Rice won her matchup against Rory Harmon. Betts won her matchup, against Madison Booker. So I think you got to win the matchup and then rebound. That propels you. South Carolina, at times, Raven Johnson won her matchup against one of the strongest players and arguably one of the best players we've seen this year. So when you look at it, I think it's matchups, who wins it and who defensively plays and rebounds the ball better. That's what I look at in this game. I throw the refs out the windows because I think they let them play a little bit of basketball. I like the physical side of seeing these women get down.
Yeah, Donnell also said, good morning. What's up? Good morning, Donnell. How you doing? Happy Easter. He said offensive rebounds will determine the winner. A lot of the times, them rebound stats do correlate with the one that lost the game. I'm in agreement with you, Moss. It's about matchups. And when I look at Okot versus Lauren Betts, Medina versus Lauren, I think that's going to be the determining matchup that wins this game or not. You got 6'6" versus 6'7". If Okot can kind of contain Lauren a bit, because I think one problem UCLA be running into, and this is just my humble opinion, sometimes when the game is getting sticky, they get away from putting her on the block. They always want to put her into a pick and roll action.
Okay.
Like, no, just send her to the block and throw it in and slow it down. And I think they can get away from that at times in the game, especially when it's getting sticky. So I think they need to make that adjustment because against Texas, we seen that happen, and then it kind of felt like just the feel of the game that Texas was going to come back at some point. And, I feel like if Madison Booker would have, caught a little heater or a little ignition and just made a couple more shots, then they probably would have been right there. So I think that's the battle, though. Okot versus Betts. And whoever probably – and not even statistically. I don't even think whoever has the better statistics. But, watching the game as the game is going on, you could tell, like, okay, if Lauren Betts is getting affected by Medina, you could feel that. It might not even show up on paper, but that's what I want to see is that matchup. I think that's going to determine who wins or loses this game. All right, hey, question. Who do y'all think, and y'all can go into who y'all think is going to win as this as well. Who do y'all think will be the MVP of this game and what team wins?
This is a good question. Great question. I'm gonna go with my girl, man. I'm going with my girl. She's been having a sensation super sophomore season. That's I remember my years. That's really when I first started playing in high school. First really ever time playing organized ball where it meant something. Sophomore year in high school. I think she's gonna have a great game. I think it's meant for her style of play, being a wing player, being able to dribble, rebound. She has all the tools, man. And I'm going with Joyce Edwards as my MVP. I know everybody, a given as Raven Johnson, Lauren Betts, those type of players. But I think Joyce Edwards can be very effective in this game the way she shoots the ball from outside also.
Yeah. I don't know. What's the there's a couple different ways you can go with this. I'm gonna take the I forget her name, the big for South Carolina, their
Okay.
center.
Who,
Okay.
Medina?
Yeah, I guess. I forget her name, but controlling the paint, controlling the rebounding game. Maybe that's going to be my key. Is she has to be able to match Betts. Betts is going to do what she do, but she has to be able to match her or outplay her. And I think that's going to be the key, and who could be the MVP to this game. But to be honest, the MVP in my mind is going to be, if South Carolina wins, Dawn Staley, and the way she goes about attacking that UCLA team.
Yeah.
You could make a case. The other case I was going to make was for Johnson, Raven. She got to be able to control the ball. Control the game, control the tempo, control everything aspect of it. But I'm going to go with the big down there. I think that's going to be the huge key with the rebounding and how she plays Betts and trying to stay out of foul trouble to match that intensity. And that's kind of where I lean with it.
Yeah, Rob said South Carolina might try to run on Betts with their big. Yeah, Medina is a rim-to-rim type of big. She could definitely get up and down the court.
Yeah. It's crazy how Dawn Staley find those. Like, she keeps that big in a rotation that's young, but the IQ, like they do what she does, her role, plays her role, gets up and down the court and plays big. Like, I think we need to, not that we don't see enough of it, but I think that's what's taking me away from the men's game. It's a lot of three balls, but you got players trying to do so much sometimes, and it's not within their role. That's what I like about the women's game, man. It's really changing, and you seeing players be great. And the reason, again, for Joyce Edwards is because she got to go against Gabriella, probably guard Kiki. She's going to be matched up against quite a few different players to where we'll see a different aspect of her game. And that's what I've been liking, how her game has grown throughout the season. So I'm with Joyce, man. Special.
Yeah, in games like this, man, I like players like Gianni Neekins from UCLA. 43% from the 3-point line. We know they're going to throw it down to Lauren Betts. We got to hit some perimeter shots today to keep them honest and the doubles off. I wonder if Dawn Staley is going to double Lauren Betts, though. I wonder if she has faith in Medina Okot enough to play her one-on-one. We'll see. I would try it out first, but if Lauren is on a heater and you have to start doubling, I think the game opens up for people like Gianni. So that's my little hidden one. I think maybe she could hit about 5 threes in this game, and a layup and be the leading scorer, in the whole game. I think there's going to be another defensive battle, though. I do not think we're going to see a high-scoring game. So 15, 16 points, you well off, probably the leading scorer in the game to me. Y'all got anything else y'all want to add to the women's before we move over?
I just appreciate the way they've been hooping this year, man. Putting on them tennis shoes, lacing them up, getting themselves ready for big games, week in, week out. I'm just loving, what we've been able to see this year on the women's side of basketball. And hats off to Dawn Staley, hats off to Coach Close over at UCLA. I think, what we seeing is something special. You don't just get your team to their first national championship in history for no reason without putting the work in. 30 straight, that's a lot of work put in. So shout out to both of these teams, coaches, players, and everyone involved in getting them to where they are today.
Okay, we about to cross over to college football, man. I gotta ask y'all this question to start off. What do y'all think about the executive order signed by the president for players to only have 5 years of eligibility and one transfer? That does not include the grad transfer, though. So technically, you can actually transfer twice. What do y'all think about that rule? Do y'all think we're gonna see any blowback? Y'all think we're gonna see people suing the NCAA? Go ahead. It look like you want to start us off, Sean.
Man, look, I've been one, and I think we've all been in agreement. This is what needs to be: 5 years, one transfer. I think we all have talked about it. I think we all have agreed that that's probably the best option. Trump came out and said when he talked about this a few weeks ago, he said, we know we're going to get sued, and that's fine. There's already been talks about agents and stuff saying it's unconstitutional to tell a person what they can and cannot do. Look, if people want to fix college athletics, this is the one way to start fixing it. Stop all this every year transferring. I'm going to use the player, Bear Alexander. Again, this kid came out of Texas. He transferred to 4 different high schools in Texas in 4 years, and then 4 different colleges in 4 years. That needs to stop. I mean, I've mentioned it, I've said it, and I'll keep saying it. Used to be 10 years ago, you knew who your roster was for your team the next year based on who they had recruited. Now, you don't know. You don't know who half the players are going to be anymore until the season kicks off. It's ridiculous. I'm in favor of it. I hope that it stays. I do know there's going to be pushback, hardcore pushback. There's going to be somebody trying to sue. But to me, this makes the most sense. 5 years, one transfer. I get the grad transfer, and I'm cool with that staying in. I'm really good with that staying in. That's fine. But I don't know. To me, this is the way it needs to be. So that's my take on it.
We talked about this a lot.
Yeah, it's what we've been talking about. 5 years to play, one transfer outside of grad transfer. You have to have something in place. Go ahead, Mossberry. My bad to cut you off.
No, you good. It's funny that comment. That's literally. I'm sitting here like we've literally been talking about this for how long now? We still talk about it in our group chat. I'm gonna just say that. And I'm leaving it alone. I don't talk these politics, man. I'm done with it right there. No offense. Great question. I love it. Unc said what need to be said, and I'm leaving it at that.
Yeah, the 5 years to play, one transfer. That means you could be after your sophomore year, you see you ain't gonna play. You could transfer, go to another school. If you don't play that junior year, you hit the field your senior year, you graduate, you can still leave. So I think that's perfect. What I want to know, though, I probably got to do some more reading. Are they still going to allow medical red shirts? Because now you're moving right back to the 6 years, and we're still going to get 23, 24-year-old guys playing college football if they are allowing medical red shirts. I don't know if that's in the letter. In the writing, but that's something to be curious about and to research. But everybody said it, we've been talking about this. We gotta remove 26, 25, 27-year-olds out of college athletics. I've been playing basketball the last few weeks. I was gonna check on my NIL package if my knees worked. My knees work. And it don't look like I'm gonna get in the NIL though. So
let's work on that NIL one.
That's out the window, bro. It looks like that's out the window.
Anything's possible.
Nah, but I like it. It's not even that. Everybody has rules. Like so I get what you saying, Sean, and you saying people want to sue and what did you say? You said like basically that they can't tell them what to do or what. Everybody got rules, and everything you do is rules. You can't just go to work and clock in and sit on your butt. You got to do the work to get paid, or you're gonna get fired. It's rules and it's consequences to rules. If you break them. So I feel like We have to have something in place to where it's not the wild, wild west. I love this. Is definitely a great step. I think he got this from Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban is the one that told him to do this when they went to that little dinner a couple months back. Just because I think Nick Saban understands, and Sean touched on this, it is so difficult for these coaches to build their rosters each year when all these dudes are in the portal transferring every year, bro. They don't even know who's gonna be on their team. So how do y'all want the product of the sport to be when 95% of the teams aren't your Texases and your Ohio States and your Notre Dames. They're not the biggest program, so they're not gonna have the best talent as those programs. So you need your guys to at least to be able to gel. And what better way to do that to make guys stay in school for multiple years and they're going to be on your roster. So I think that's a very good step in the right direction.
It's so many different talks from this. The reason, of course I have my opinions in certain ways. I just don't do, a lot of the politic talk. And I don't think this, rightfully so, because I think that'll lead into that. But I know we've discussed this, many times when it comes to that. It just gives me the thought of SEC, Sean, what if we all came up with writing and saying the same thing for the past year? That's why I'm trying to stay away from it, because it's like, if we came up with the same writing and sent that in, would it be seen? Would it get talked about? But that's why I say I just try not to talk about certain things, but I agree on what we talked about when it comes to this eligibility thing. And that's just it, man. They need to have it taken care of.
But see, to me, it's not really talking politics, because we've been talking about it. Other sports people on podcasts have been talking about this is what it needs to be. The fact is the NCAA is scared to do anything by themselves. They figure, let's get the federal government involved, and then people won't push back on us. That's not the case. I mean, like I said, there have been people out there there's articles out there where people are saying that they'll fight this, they'll sue. Well, okay, what are you going to sue for? Who are you going to sue? Are you going to sue the NCAA, or are you going to sue the federal government? Because I hate to tell you, but a 19-year-old kid, no matter what NIL he has, doesn't have the money the federal government has.
Right.
I promise. The federal government can outspend him in court. And if they can't, they'll just print more money and outspend you the NCAA has no power anymore, and that's why they turned to this little dinner with Saban, and who else was Urban Meyer, I think, was there. Numerous other, Hall of Fame players, coaches, top of the top from the sports world were there. And they all probably agreed this was the way to go. And yes, it shouldn't have to come down to the government and the president and all this, no matter who the president is. I don't care who it is. The fact is, at least something's getting done to try to fix it, because it's broken as it is.
And that's just my whole thing on it. It's tough to look at seeing that the type of people that we have on the boards, that they have on the boards, not we, that they have on these different boards, couldn't come up with that because they worried about all these other, different litigations and things like that, where it's kids involved. Like, my thing comes to it, that's what you got to care about eventually. But yeah, I'm in agreement with it. Like, we talk about the 5 years, it's just getting out of hand. If it don't get control, I think it's going to cause more turmoil in the years to come, even things we might not think about right now it could cause. So, I think it has to be done something faster than ever.
Here's the point with that, Moss, with all the boards and all the people on the NCAA boards they can make these rules, but let's go back and look. They try to implement rules, and what happens? People sue them, and then They deny it, and then they go to get a judge from their school. Use Ole Miss as an example, just an example. No knock at Ole Miss. They go get a judge who went to Ole Miss to overturn the judgment that was already in place by a judge.
Right.
I mean,
It's crazy,
okay.
man.
Let me see. Manziel. I think Johnny Manziel got a couple years left. I think Mike Evans had a year left. All right, we fixing to go rock A&M real quick because we'll just get a judge. I guarantee there's a judge from Texas A&M that would sign off on giving them eligibility back. I promise you. So, that's why the board from the NCAA has no power anymore. They are that fierce lion with no teeth or claws. It's
All
what
the
they are.
bank. And they got all the bank.
From a distance, they look scary as hell. But when you get up close, ain't nothing but a little calico cat chilling there. So, yeah,
That's why I think I think the only thing, because you absolutely right, Sean. I think the only thing that's going to actually work is if the players create a union and we start doing contractual agreements to where we got to re-up on different just different things, just like the 5 years. Maybe you do 10-year contract, 5 years to play, one transfer outside of grads. And then, once the 10 years is up, you go back to the drawing board. You ask, is this working for the sport? The players can speak their piece. The NCAA can speak their piece, and we can meet in the middle somewhere. But I think the only way that's going to work is if the players get a union, and you got to turn these players into paid employees. Basically, if you got a union, now they're paid employees. And we need to file taxes and everything. So,
and I agree with that.
know,
But here's the follow up to that real quick, Zay. You really think we're gonna get a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids to agree on anything?
It's not that they're going to be at the table, but every student body there's going to be representatives for them. So,
right.
It's just like, for instance, I work for Columbus City Schools. The teachers went on strike a few years ago because they wanted a pay increase. You want the majority of what people are feeling. It's not you're not going to please everybody. So you just have to get the whole body together and see what the main topics and issues are that they're having. Just like we just seen a whole group, which is the WNBA. They wanted more money, and they was able to get their union to get them more money. Basically, that's all that is a union. So listen, I just know we going in the right direction. That's all I care about. And Rob said the NCAA doesn't want the litigation, and the NCAA angle might be to punish the school and coaches. And I mean, I don't really understand. If Rob, you can answer this too in the comment section. How would they even be able to punish the actual schools and coaches? Because to me, $100,000 you find in Ohio State or Texas or something, that's like candy money. These are multi-billion, probably trillion schools, like organization programs, whatever you want to call it. I just don't. That's not going to do nothing.
I did a little bit of light digging into this. When it came out. And I think, and I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, Rob, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't, this came out when the executive order was signed, stating that teams that violate this and the transfer and all this stuff, they're going to potentially have federal funding withheld from them. So
that
might be the angle he's going.
Million, huh?
Yeah. So that may be, and then not only that, there's something in there about communicating with transfers and in the window and outside of the window, and teams that are in violation will lose 5 scholarships for the year, and a coach would have to miss 6 games. 6 games out of a 12, 13 games. That's a lot to miss a head coach.
Yeah, you refreshing my memory. It's also a 5 scholarship loss too, or
right.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's a reduction of 5 scholarships, a 6-game ban from the head coach, and loss of possible federal funding. That's, and
Yeah.
I think
So you
all of
just
that
tapped
is for
in.
messing with the portal.
You just tapped in what he was talking about. He said he was making the point about the tampering with the transfer portal.
That's what I was pretty sure that the trend, because you had all this with Clemson and Dabo whining about Ole Miss, and all that. So that's why that's all in there. But yeah, I mean, you talk about this tampering, that's going to stop some of that. I'm sorry, you lose a Ryan Day or a Mike Elko or, uh, Steve Sarkisian or who's your coach? Well, Moss, y'all might want to lose your coach for 6 games, but that's a different subject. But
Leave me alone.
But you lose one of them coaches for 6 games, man, that's half your season. Plus the reduction of 5 scholarships and federal, that puts a little ding in the wallet there and in the little bit. So we'll see what happens, but we're to me, we're heading in the right direction with all.
All right. Do y'all got any spring update y'all want to speak on? It's the last question I got before we get out of here. Y'all got any spring updates from y'all's teams?
Trying to stay healthy at the wide receiver position for us. We've had 2 wide receivers already go down in spring with injuries. Terry Bussey and Ashton Bethel Roman have both went down with injuries. Apparently, both while going up for contested plays with the cornerback Julian Humphrey. So, I mean, somebody needs to get Humphrey aside and tell him to slow down a little bit and hold on here, quit injuring all of our receivers. But from what everything's being said, they're both minor. So it's nothing that's going to affect fall, which is fine. Those guys are experienced. They played last year, so no big deal there. Everything else I've heard from the receiver room is Isaiah Horton is a monster, the transfer from Alabama, and a freshman to watch coming out of A&M might be Aaron Gregory. And then Jerome Miles, who was one of the top receivers from the previous class, who blew his knee out, I believe, running track his senior season of high school. He's nursing himself back, so he should be ready by the fall. But Aaron Gregory is a name y'all need to watch coming out of A&M as a potential breakout wide receiver as a freshman.
I like that. For me, it's just the usual, man. I know I spoke on him a lot last year as the season ended, but the battle was going crazy with Ashton Daniels and Kevin Sperry. We're not going to mention anything about a quarterback until close, to the season start. When it comes to that, looking forward to Deuce coming back or performing like he did last year, if not even better. I'm sure his numbers is going to go up based on the way he performed last year. Looking at the Zazier brothers coming in, our running back room with Cromon, Singleton heading that off. Looking to see Singleton, who's looking slimmer and stronger, but so much more elusive. It's been ranting and raving about the way he's looked, even as he performed later stages of the year, second half of the season last year, and throughout the season, he looked very good. So freshman that I have my eye on is Rylan Kennedy, who's been having eyes all over the place on him. He's just a great freshman, I think, that's been playing very well up until this point, and I think he'll continue to do that. Tim Harris Jr., new offensive coordinator. Gus Malzahn, of course, is gone and doing what he does best, and just trying to get back to that traditional style of passing. RPO, we got some, athletic QBs now in Ashton and Kevin Sperry, along with that running back room. So trying to fulfill all of those things that you haven't seen in the past few years. And I'm not going to do much talking about Florida State this year. I'm looking to get out and see what we could do. Me first and foremost, I've been doing a lot of talking even after that Alabama win. So I just want to see week by week if we can continue to go 1-0. That's my thing, 1-0 each week, and approach each week with that same mentality, if not even stronger.
And enjoy Rylan Kennedy. I really wanted to watch that kid play here at A&M.
Man, special.
He's athletic. The one thing I'll say is watch his motor, because he has a tendency to take a bunch of plays off.
And that's the thing. So far, his motor been going.
Yeah, and if that kid's motor's going, y'all got to steal from A&M off that kid.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping too.
But yeah, I was really hoping to watch him grow at A&M, but gotta wish the kid best in this world we live in. You never know where they're gonna be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, we had our student appreciation scrimmage on Friday. We always open up the doors and let the students watch a live scrimmage. And I love these days because we get a lot of information out of them, just because the students is recording, and you start seeing videos circulate about what was going on in there, and then you just hear different type of noise. I got some good and I got some bad. Austin Saraveld and Philip Daniels both of our projected starting tackles are out for the rest of the spring. Not good. Maybe it is good though, because maybe we could see somebody step up, that probably wouldn't have had the reps beforehand, which I don't think neither one of them. Well, one of them should start tackle, but I think our starting tackle is actually Ian Moore. He should be on the left side, so hopefully he can get those reps and prove his worth, because he probably played the best game out of all of them in that Miami game. As soon as they put him on the field, we went right down and scored. So I don't even understand why he's not out there to jump. We also lost Legend Bay for spring. A lot of high hopes for that kid. To lose him kind of is a blow, because Isaiah West and Bo Jackson are already out, and he was repping at running back. He was repping at receiver too, but I would have loved for him to get those reps at running back more so than receiver this spring. Jay Timmons out there making a name for himself, man. Smitty said he the next one, so I'm gonna believe in Smitty. Jay Timmons, who a lot of scouts were saying was pound for pound the best prospect in this upcoming recruiting class that came in. Jay Timmons is out there showing his worth. It look like he's gonna get a lot of playing time this season if he continue to do what all the reports are saying. Tavian St. Clair said he was balling. You typically in the spring, the defensive line is ahead of the offensive line. So, I mean, I understand the reports of the offensive line didn't play as well as they needed to be. It's a lot of time from now to the regular season. So, I mean, when you're talking about Tavian St. Clair, a kid that's mobile, got a cannon of an arm, and to hear that he played well behind guys that haven't really been getting most of the reps. I just they let him throw at pro day too, and that's also a good sign, because why would you let a kid throw at pro day when people are playing for contracts, practicing for contracts? So I don't know. All the reports I keep on hearing about Tavian St. Clair is very positive. Julian saying they say he out here scrambling now. We're gonna see how that go. And that's good news, because sometimes you need to go pick up a couple first downs with your legs. And the last guy that I'm going to mention is Christian Alliegro, linebacker we got from Wisconsin. They say he looks real good in that sound position. We've been doing a lot of 5-down, one linebacker installs, and he's been the Arvell Reese, I guess, thus far. So hearing a lot of good things about Christian Allegro. We still got injuries at that position as well, with Pettijohn being out for the spring. So yeah, that's pretty much my rundown from what I got right now. I've already spoke about Devin Sanchez on the last time we spoke, I believe, about spring football. Devin Sanchez looked like he's about to be the number one corner this year. But yeah, that's all I got to add. Y'all got anything else y'all need to add?
Well, yeah, Devin Sanchez is going to be good. Devin Sanchez is going to be good. He's Houston, Texas, man. North Shore
Yeah,
High School.
I get to see it on the field, man.
I told you
Dude
that's
is,
one of my guys I like.
look, if you're a lockdown corner at North Shore High School in Texas high school football, you probably one of the best in the nation.
Oh my God, I forgot one Texas kid. Oh my God, I am so sorry, Buckeye Nation. They said Brock Boyd is out of this world. He was the first freshman to lose his black stripe.
Yeah.
He actually broke the Ohio State record for losing your black stripe as a freshman. He lost his black stripe in 6 days, in 6 practices. So Brock Boyd, we hear a lot about Chris Henry Jr. Brock Boyd. We might see Brock Boyd as the first freshman receiver on that field this year.
Yeah, I got to remember. I don't remember where he went to school at. I have to look him up. I forget what high school he went to. I will say one big question everybody had coming into the season real quick on A&M was, did they make the right offensive coordinator decision with Holman Wiggins? Now, this is coming out of spring ball, but everything I'm hearing from the receivers and the quarterbacks and all the offensive players, they love the direction his offense is going versus what it was. And Colin Klein had a good offense, don't get me wrong, but they seem to like it's apparently going to be more explosive and dynamic than what it has been in the past. So that makes me, okay, the kids are bought in. Now let's execute it.
Yeah. Can't have no thinking this times you can't have no offense that people can really play on a video game. You got to go out there and you got to get creative, and use those different styles, and just come up with things and use your players to their skill set. So I totally agree. I think I think that's hopefully the move that we making. I think we are, with us having, like I said, this QB battle with these quarterbacks now that I've seen, and they both look good. Kevin Sperry's my guy. I want him starting, but no disrespect to Ashton Daniels. It's like I'm dealing with what post game dealt with last offseason in the spring. This is really a good battle right now. So just goes to show, could be the coaching changes sometimes in certain positions that benefit the whole team.
All right, well, we ain't got nothing else for y'all, man. Happy Easter, everybody tuned in. Hey, it don't cost a thing to subscribe and hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button and that like button. It helps us out tremendously, man. Y'all know we on Patreon, WTP Sports Dudes 2026, where you can find all episodes from the past, and you can listen to just tap in, man. You're gonna hear everything on there pretty much. All the channels are scrolling down at the bottom. You got Level Up Sports 10, who's at the bottom of the screen with JoJo Mossberg, SEC Shine. You can find him on YouTube as well, SEC Shine. WTP for Life, Rob, who put us all together. Y'all know it. And then we got Post Game with the Post Game podcast. T1 of the City League TV podcast. You can find him on Facebook as well. And Parlay Poe of Blitzburg. And I'm One Take Zaya, man, the One Take Zaya podcast, man. Hey, it was nice seeing y'all this morning.
Peace.
Yes, sir. We out the building.
We out the building.